Welcome to the Cresco Wealthcast. My name is Dimitri Korolis. I'm the host of the pod, and I'm also an advisor within the Cresco Wealth Management team. Just want to say a quick thank you to all of you that continue to support and follow the channel. I appreciate you, and of course, welcome back. And if this is your first time to the podcast, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy. At the Cresco Wealthcast, the inspiration was very simple. I wanted to bring topics that were derived from real conversations, and I wanted to do it in a way that was relevant and relatable to you. And a lot of the conversations and the content that you're going to hear, it's coming from clients, it's family, it's friends, it's just being out and about and having those real conversations. Nonetheless, I hope you enjoy, but before I let you go, just want to let you know you can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search at Cresco Wealth Management. Until then, enjoy the pod. Oh, and by the way, that music you're hearing, that's Pete Ems. He's one half of Small Town DJs, and it was nominated for a Juno Award. He's on the team, no big deal. Thanks for joining and welcome back, everyone. For those that have already been listening and are following the channels, thank you very much. You notice a little bit of a different intro. I just want to point out that that soundbite is actually one of our very own Pete Ems. That song, you can get on Spotify, it's called Concord Groove, was actually Juno nominated. So it's a very proud extracurricular activity for one of our own. So that's one Pete. I'm joined today by another Pete, or Peter. That's how we differentiate it. And Peter's one of the advisors and partners on the team right here. And we wanted to bring a podcast that was timely. And when we think of the month of December, or as we wrap up the year, one of the things and the strategies that we look to do is tax loss selling or tax loss harvesting, however you may have seen it. And if you're unfamiliar, why we implement it and some things. So first of all, welcome, Pete. It's been a minute, eh?
It's been a while. You know, I was going to say good afternoon. And then I was thinking to myself, well, when people listen to this, maybe they're not listening to the afternoon, it's in the morning. So if I say good afternoon, am I going to confuse them?
If you go good morning, it just makes you that much more punctual.
Okay, so everything I should say is good morning.
Good morning. That's it.
It's 6 a.m. at the Cresco Wealthcast. Good morning, everyone.
This is after our workout, by the way.
That's right. Workout, run. And just now
amazing.
We're enjoying our coffee.
There we go. I like it. Well, thanks for joining. So we'll get right into it. I mean, tax loss selling, tax loss harvesting. You know, really, what is it and why do we use it? And even this time of year type deal.
Great question. I mean, so year end, everyone's getting ready. Everyone's busy. Christmas is around the corner. Holidays are around the corner, and so everyone's preparing for the year end. Kids are gonna have some time off school. Some offices are closed down for a few days there, and there's a lot going on. So you're thinking, okay, how do we get some clarity as to say, what do we need to do for some 2024 year-end tax tips? I'll just go into some quick ones right away that we want to make sure that we take care of. That should have already been taken care of for those. But make sure you've got your RSP contributions done. Make sure you get your TFSA contributions taken care of from that standpoint as well. And then there's some opportunity as well if there's something known as tax loss selling, right? And so what we're looking for is if you go through and you take a look at your investments and you say, okay, is there any investments that I could look to sell and then find a proxy position meaning something that's very like to it, and from that proxy position reinvest in there and then take that tax loss opportunity. And the question might be, okay, well, what is the reason for the strategy? Why would we look to do this? And so tax loss selling, there's a couple of advantages to that. If the portfolio or your investments did well in 2023 and you had some gains, or 2024 you have some gains and eventually you might have to realize some gains. The nice part about tax loss selling is you can carry those losses back for 3 years. However, if you've got nothing to carry back for past 3 years, you can take it and you can carry it forward indefinitely. And so by harvesting losses, what that does, it helps mitigate taxes. And we've talked about this in the past. One of the biggest grinds to your wealth is taxes. So we always want to be mindful of things that we can control and where we can put dollars your pocket, and that's using tax loss selling. So tax loss selling, very simple but very effective. And what we look to do is, again, sell one position. Doesn't mean we want to remove ourselves from the investments that we want long term. We find a proxy position and we go ahead and reinvest into that proxy position. Sounds easy. There is some rules that we have to be familiar with. And
perfect segue. And a lot of people, not a lot of people, but there may be people out there have heard of the superficial loss, 30-day rule, things of this nature. Let's get into that and what we have to watch over. I think that's where you were probably going with this, hey, Pete?
And that's exactly right. So not all things are... There's always complications that we have to be aware of. There's all these rules that we have to be familiar with within the tax guide. And again, I do preface any of this conversation. You should speak with your tax advisor for a full analysis before undertaking any of these strategies. It's important to mention that. But a superficial loss rule is, okay, let's go ahead and sell one investment, and you sell that investment and you buy it back the very next day. And what CRA says is like, whoa, you've just done this really for a tax windfall, and you're quote unquote taking advantage of the situation. So what CRA calls that a superficial loss, and what ends up happening is that loss is denied. So what you need to do is, if you sell one investment, you have to wait 30 days to buy back into that investment in order for that loss to be recognized. Another thing to consider too is if you say, oh, well, I've got it, and obviously it's in my non-registered investment account, you sell it, and then if you go buy it in your RSP and TFSA, can you go ahead and do that? No. Guess what?
Yeah, very
it's a
important.
Superficial loss rule.
And that's a good point, because to educate those out there, a lot of what we are talking about today is in the non-registered or taxable accounts. Is the registered TFSA, RSPs, those have a tax nature unto themselves. We're talking about the non-registered assets. And so yes, one of the things is, okay, well, maybe I won't sell and buy it back within the 30 days in this account. I'll just go do it in the RSP. Again, it will not work out like that. So what are some strategies that to be cognizant, or having the conversations with us? Okay, well, look, I like the position, or I like the exposure that I'm in. Is there a way around it? You touched on it by proxy, but maybe let's go even deeper on things we can look to do.
So if we're taking a look at a proxy position, effectively what we're taking a look at is, let's assume that you've got some Canadian holdings and you're in a Canadian strategy, and you want to sell one Canadian strategy and go into another Canadian strategy. You want to make sure that it's not one index fund to the other index fund. It's one maybe index strategy to an active Canadian strategy, right? And by doing that, you've created enough, you're garnering enough of a difference to, in fact, say you've taken a loss, right? Or you sell one individual security holding for a completely different security holding, right? So maybe you have RBC, and then all of a sudden you go and buy CIBC. Proxy in the sense that they're Canadian banks, but they're completely different investments. And so that's how you make sure that you ensure that you've got that superficial loss rule that be accepted. Now, interesting fact, Dimitri.
I'm all about them.
The world is always changing.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. And so you may or may not have heard, earlier in this year, we also had the capital gains inclusion rate increase.
Yes.
Above amount of $250,000 per individual. So now you might actually have to start thinking about tax gain selling. What is that? is a question that comes up. Let's say you've got a large concentrated position that you are forced to hold because perhaps you were sitting on the executive, your executive vice president, or you're a director within a company, and you have to hold these public shares, and you've accumulated a large concentration that's had a great gain that's $250,000 and above, and you've now retired, and you can start to unwind some of those positions. This is an example as to when you may use tax loss selling. Well, it's the year end, right? So what you could do is you could look and say you're going to have a $500,000 capital gain on this. Well, perhaps you sell $250,000 of that gain this year, wait till 2025, and you sell the remaining portion. So really you straddle those 2 years with that gain to help you along. Again, these strategies need to be discussed there with your tax advisor on that.
That's a great point, and something that I did want to bring up, making sure we didn't escape today's podcast to bring up, is our job as wealth advisors, as a wealth management team, is of course to work in conjunction with the accountants, with the other services that one would need, but taking a long-term approach. And when we're looking at taxation, you brought up a really great point, because even in the carry forward losses or the look back of the 3 years that we have, and where you say the capital gains and the inclusion rate, it can be a long-term plan for net benefits. So we don't want to constantly look only from an annualized basis of, this is what we have in 2024, this is only what we do in 2024. It's very important to have that plan and revisit those plans from a tax perspective as well. And the advantages are incredible, because they'll never show up on a performance report. It's not something that you say, oh, I did X in the market, but also I saved or did X from a tax perspective. It all matters, and so that long-term planning is crucial. So thank you for bringing that point up.
No, well said, Dimitri. Is what we're looking at is everything.
Yeah,
everything in motion.
Even RSPs, for example, even
RSPs.
the contribution. I talked about in the last pod, the misconception, much like the carry forward, is you can make that contribution and fill that bucket up. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to take that deduction in that year.
And that was what it comes fundamentally is to really understanding who we're working with, what's important to them, what they're trying to accomplish in the long term. And we don't want to be transactional. We want to say, okay, what opportunities can we take advantage of now to help them be farther ahead in the future? And that's understanding, okay, what's going to happen the next little while? Do we know that they've got a large concentrated position that they need to unload at some point? Can we start to accumulate some losses now that we can have going forward? Do they have a rental property or a cabin that perhaps they want to pass down to their kids and gift it in some capacity? How can we mitigate potentially some of those gains? Does it make sense to take losses for the next 5 to 10 years? We got to take a look at all these different moving parts.
Great point.
I'll also make one more commentary too for some year-end planning. That's very important. It's the time of giving, and now is also a very good opportunity, if you haven't already, is to take a look at some charitable giving. 2024, once again, we work with a lot of clients that are very charitable. They want to pay things forward and want to help out certain causes. And, here's a great opportunity as well. We know the markets have done well. We've had some good gain positions. Let's take a look at charitable giving. It's already part of their plan. And really, let's focus not just on charitable giving by cash, but let's gift in securities or gift in some strategies that are public. And by doing so, there's a great opportunity there to effectively forego some of that capital gains tax that is being paid by making gifts in kind. And so another year-end tax strategy is charitable giving to help reduce your taxes for 2024. But also, more importantly, if you've got some gains in some of your investments, take a look to make some in-kind donations to those charities that are important to you.
Very well said, and timely as well, because again, please follow, like everything on our channels, join our community here. The next episode is actually, in fact, going to be about the Cresco Cares Committee, something that we do internally from a charitable side. But stay tuned for that one. I do want to leave on one thing, and I think you got something to add, Pete?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I want to make some clarity.
Don't want to lose any point.
Yeah, no, I just want to bring some clarity if we're making in-kind donations of whether it's exchange-traded funds, public traded securities. Not only do you get that donation credit, but then it also illuminates the capital gain tax on what you've earned on those securities or those investments that we're talking about.
Yeah, and I know you personally within the team have quite a bit of experience with clients taking advantage of certain things from a charitable side. So if there was anyone that wanted a conversation, please go to the website. or even in the bio here, but reach out to Peter. Because you're right, it's not just at face value.
I will add to that, one of the advantages that we also have on the team is our head of planning, Wayne, who I know has been on here. His prior career was working very much within the charitable sector. And so he's got some wonderful, wonderful insights and some advice to help those that need it in any capacity. Keep in mind, time is limited. You want to get that done before year end. I would say even 2 weeks in advance. Reach out to myself, reach out to Wayne. Wayne is just a wonderful resource that could help you with this as well. So don't be afraid to reach out, and we can help you in any capacity.
Like, one thing I do want to mention on the approach is, yes, this is something that is typically talked about near the end of the year. I call it the winter cleaning of portfolio management as it's come. One thing to note is that it doesn't necessarily have to be just at the end of the year. We elect to have that proactive opportunity because if that opportunity presents itself, we're constantly looking to see where we can take that advantage. So I'll say one of the oversights is that because the narrative or the conversations or a lot of the thought pieces come around this time of year, we want to look at all times of year for those opportunities. Thanks for joining. It was good to have you back. It's been a while. Feels natural. Felt good.
Felt great. Just a beautiful morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Great morning. Great morning. Thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the episode, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. Please feel free to leave your comments, or even if you want to let me know topics that you think I should be talking about. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search at Cresco Wealth Management. And last but not least, if you want to be up to date with our newsletters, our insights, and even our events that we host throughout the year, you can reach out to me directly. It's pretty simple. You can just go to our website, find me from there, crescowealthmanagement.com. Thanks again, everyone.